Welcome po. Welcome to the FB Live for today. Okay po, as usual, if you have questions, you can type it in and I'll just try to answer the questions. Okay. Yay, welcome. Welcome to the Feeling Era FB Live. So if you have questions, you can just type it in. I will be able to see the question and I'll try my best to answer them. Nagkakahiyaan pa. Tapos pagpatapos na, ang dami ng tanong. Pakiramdaman muna. Okay, welcome. Welcome teachers. I know you're all teachers who are here. Thank you for coming and joining me on my Facebook Live today. Ma'am Rosemary. Can you remind me what VR is? So I know PI is principal interview. How about VR? What's VR? Do you mean visa sponsor? Hello, Chatty, Ma'am Rosemary. Oh, video resume. Are you talking about the VR for EPI or is it something else? Oh, EPI. So it means that that's the one that they recorded during the interview, right? Because I know that's how they're doing it now. Unlike before, they would ask us to record a certain length of video resume and that's what we upload in the website of EPI. But now I know that they will record a section of the interview and then that's the one that they're going to show to the principals, the employer. So really I'm not sure because there could be different reasons why you are not receiving any news yet. Okay, because honestly, although January is the start of the hiring season, most schools in the US really do not know 100% how many teachers they need for the next school year because around January to March, that is when the school principals are actually giving teachers the reappointment letters, and that's also the time when teachers are signifying whether they're staying at the school or not. So at this point it's only January. They don't have like 100% idea how many teachers they need and in what subject areas. Okay, it's still kind of early in the year for the next school year, so you can just wait, especially if you're working with EPI. If they have already qualified you based off of the result of the first two interviews, I am sure you're good to go. So they're probably just going to, because this is what happens after the interviews. So you have the preliminary, like the pre-qualifying interview. After that you have the TQI, right? So after the TQI, if you still have some documentations that you still need to complete, they will ask you to do that. Once completed, then your profile will now be available for the employers to view. And that's also when EPI is going to push forward your application because you have completed everything. So I don't know if you have completed all the documents that they are asking you to complete because that's what's needed, right? So you have to complete first anything that you are still missing so that the employers can also see that. Oh, about the interview tips. It's not that I'm promoting, but this is really the answer that I can give you. I already made a vlog about interview tips because that's where you can get the complete information from beginning to end. But right now what I would say is because the interview is virtual, so make sure that you have steady and fast internet connection, that you are in a place where you can be comfortable and you will not be disturbed. I don't know if you also already have the time for the interview, but yeah, for the most part, if it's the TQI, is it TQI that you are having? Thank you for Ma'am Rosemary. So for the TQI, they would be asking you questions already about your teaching experience, also your teaching principles and strategies. For the employer interview, that's when they would give situational questions, like they would give you some examples of specific situation in the classroom and they would want to know how you would deal with that kind of situation. How are you going to have your class, for instance? Usually they would ask you, if I go to your class today, what would I see from beginning to end? So the purpose of the interview really is to get a clear understanding of the kind of teacher that you are, because they cannot go to the Philippines and observe your class, right? So that's why they're asking questions that will help them better understand you and get a picture of you. Suppose you are in the classroom in the US, how you would be like as a teacher, and are you a teacher that they think would support their whatever goals they have or the kind of values that they have in the school. They also have some culture there. So I already have the interview tips. That's the title of the video, so you can go ahead and watch that after this FB live, because I gave their pointers how you prepare, things that you have to make sure that you have. And also I shared on this page, I have a file here. It's a list, it's a PDF file, you can download it. It's a list of commonly asked questions during an interview with the principal or the district. This could be the same questions that you'll be asked to answer during the TQI. Do not be nervous. So I think the biggest thing that I would like teacher applicants to really consider when they're being interviewed is just to be authentic. You don't want to sound like you're Google, or that the employers can search your answer in Google, because you have to give your answer based off of your personal experiences, based on your actual activities in school and your interaction with the students. Do not worry so much about the accent, if that's one of the things that you're nervous about, because it's the US. They're used to having lots of international teachers, so accent is not an issue as long as it's not going to interfere with the students understanding you when you're having the actual class. You should be more concerned with, listening really well to the question so that your answer is a direct answer to the question. Avoid being too wordy, because you actually do not have a lot of time in the interview, so you want to make sure that you kind of sell yourself during that time. So don't talk about other teachers, don't talk about what you have read, don't talk about those, because they might hire the other teacher and not you, right? So make sure to really just focus on what are the actual things you have done in your class that has really helped you. So listen well to the questions so you can give direct to the point answers. And especially, they're not only interviewing one person in one day, so I'm sure there's lots of teachers who are applying now that the information is out there. So the competition is really high this time. I have lots of teachers already emailing me, sending me private messages about the results of their interview, and I'm really happy for them. So I'm looking forward to seeing their photos in the US, being finally there teaching. So I'm sure you'll get there too. Okay, any other questions? Do not be shy. I know Filipinos are shy. Ma'am Charity, don't worry. EPI already pre-qualified you. They know you already have what it takes. So they just have to find you a match. Well, welcome to the Facebook Live. Again, if you have questions, type it in. Yes, yeah, this is usually the case. During the beginning of the live, Filipinos are like waiting as usual, right? That's our nature. And then towards the end, when I'm about to say goodbye, lots of questions are coming in. I haven't heard really of a maximum teaching experience. So I really don't know, but I will look it up just so I can give you a better answer, something that I'm not sure of. That I am certain is correct. So I haven't really encountered, because I have worked with retirees from DepEd. I will ask them if all of their teaching experiences have been credited, because otherwise maybe they have like a limit. So I think the FCE, because the FCE really counts not the number of years of experience, but your credentials. The purpose of the FCE is to check whether the foreign degree is equivalent to the degree in US standards. So I don't think that teaching experience will show up there. Honestly, there's no medical test required for J1 visa, because I know H1B requirements are different. J1 visa, there's no J1B. J1 visa did not require us to have any medical test before going to the US. Okay, so nothing like that. But when we get to the district's requirements for medical tests, they're different. So in Florida, for instance, they only took our urine sample for drug testing. Yeah, just drug testing. But other states, I know they would have TB test besides the drug testing. Hi, Joffrey. Joffrey, I received your message. I haven't really read it, but I saw your message. I'll try to get back to you after the Facebook Live. Okay, Chatty, it really depends on the service provider that you are using. I know for, if you are working with EPI, they would ask you to either choose WES or Spantran. EPI will tell you how to do these two. So you can choose whether you use the WES or Spantran. One of those two is, you turn in your credentials to EPI, and EPI is going to send it to you, to the FCE service provider. I just forgot which one of the two is. But they're only requiring just either WES or Spantran. But during my time, they actually have a longer list, not just two service providers. So, ma'am, Chatty, when I open the file again so that I can be for sure if what I'm remembering is right, I'll get back to you, okay? Yeah, definitely, Ma'am Charity. Because, who will not be nervous on an interview? Even when you're having your interview here locally in the Philippines, you will still be nervous a little bit. But again, like I said, Ma'am Charity, if EPI already pre-qualified you, use that already like an inspiration and a confidence booster, because it means that you already have what it takes, like I said. So at this point, they will just find you a match. Because even if teachers have what it takes, like in terms of credentials and teaching experience, but if there's really no match there, like there is no need, it might take a while. But like I said, it's still early. Do not worry, it's only January. Joffrey, really, the medical test, the cost depends on where you're having it, and also what kind of medical test. And like I said, if you are going to the US on J1 visa, you don't need any medical test. So, but if your application is successful, you are already in the US with the district, you will not be allowed to report to the school yet without having the clear result of the drug test, and the criminal record test. So whatever test they're having there, you will not pay for it. It will be paid for by the district. So, but like I said, rules differ from state to state and even from district to district. So in the meantime, do not worry about medical tests if you're going there on J1 visa, but H1B has a different requirement altogether. Okay, I think GEC has the same program as EPI. So they already are working with schools. So you really don't need to look for schools. So, but if you want to help GEC to look for a school for you, maybe you can do that. Say, if you know where GEC is sending teachers, what district and school, you can also already look it up. I don't think that's something bad to do. Because I don't know, GEC like I know EPI. So I'm not sure what states they're sending teachers to, but if you know where, you can follow the steps that I have in one of my vlogs on how to look for schools, how to look for districts. Okay, just focus on the state where GEC is sending teachers to. Thank you, Joffrey. Yeah. Okay, everyone, I don't know if you're able to read the questions, but I'm seeing it on my screen. Joffrey is saying to tell you guys to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, Joffrey. Oh, all state. Then you have more options. Kareen or Karen. I think in the US you will be called as Kareen. They call me there Sharon, not Sharon. Alright, so then you have more options, and then you can choose what state you would like to be assigned and look for schools there or district, and then you can hook up the school or the district to GEC. So I have a vlog about how to look for visa sponsors and schools or district. You can use that to look for schools or district. And then once you already have that communication with the school that's needing a teacher like you, then you can, hook them up with GEC. Because EPI is only for 4 states: North and South Carolina, Virginia, and Florida. Okay, I'm reading this question. Charlie, I hope you don't mind if I read this aloud. I am about to finish my academic requirements in my doctor's degree, and after will be on my dissertation for me to graduate, but it will take 2+ years. or more? Do I have to finish it up for my qualification, or finishing academic requirements is equally as good as having the full-fledged doctor's degree in terms of FCA salary scale? Thank you for enlightening me. Okay, so about crediting graduate degrees, the rules really depend per state. Okay, for instance, in Florida, that's always my example because that's where I taught. So in Florida, they will not credit if you have not really earned the degree. So meaning if you have not graduated, it will not be counted. Even if you have taken your even if you already passed all the subjects, you know, the coursework and the exam in the graduate school. Okay, I forgot the term. But if you have not really graduated, they will not count it. But other states will count that. So what I would suggest, if you want that to really count, maybe you can consider other states. Comprehensive test, the comprehensive exam. Like for instance, and also in Florida, if it's not related to your bachelor's, to your work there, your master's degree or Ph.D. will not also be counted. But in other states, they will count them, depending on how many units you have already earned. So yeah, it really depends on the rules of the state. So you can if you're working with EPI, you can actually ask them. Because as for me, because I was assigned in Florida, they told me not to have it, even evaluated. They told me, okay, you don't have to turn in your master's degree, because they looked it up first. They were the ones who saw my transcript of record, and they saw that I have not graduated. I have 2 masters. One is in physics, which is directly related to what I was applying for, but because I have not really graduated, I have just completed the academic requirements. They said I don't need to have that evaluated. And then my master's degree, the one that I really completed, is not in physics, so that's also not counted. So too bad for me, because I was assigned in Florida. But if you were assigned in a different state where they could consider that, it would be better for you. Either way, as long, I'm not really sure if in PhD it's like in master's degree where you also have a major, right? So it's the major thing. So if you have PhD or Ed.D., as long as it's within the same major, they will count it. In Florida, like I said, you should try other states so that all of those will be counted. Because that would be nice if that's counted, because that's a lot of, additional on top of the basic. Yeah. Mom Rosemary, it's fine for you to go at the same time for your visa interview at the embassy, and they will join you on a later date. It's fine. Because they can follow you to the U.S. anytime, as long as the visa is valid. They can follow you after 3 months or 6 months. Just make sure that you're not waiting too long. So the validity of the visa is 3 years. H1B. So if it's the US, for H1B, I think they want to make sure that the post you're applying for is really like an in-demand job there, where they could not hire any locals anymore. That's why they're needing foreign nationals. So that's what the employers have to prove. Are there no Americans who can work? Why are you giving that job to a foreign teacher or a foreign national? So if unskilled, I'm not really sure. And also, I'm not very familiar with other professions beside teaching. So I cannot give you like a definitive answer. I am really sorry about that. Hi, Mom says, Mom Karine, do not worry. There's so many, fish in the ocean. You find one that fits you, okay? There's always a reason why you're not able to go to one place, because you have a place for you there. So continue with it. Like I said, it's January, it's still early. You worry. I think you should start worrying if it's about like already May. So, and you haven't had any job offer yet. But you know what, like I showed you on my Facebook page, I got my job offer in July, right? So I had my interview with a superintendent, not a superintendent, but a supervisor, chief of high schools in Orlando. I was interviewed July 14th, that's a Friday. I got my job offer July 17th, that's Monday. So, because I did my applications late. Don't be like me. You want your job offer to come really early, especially if you're coming from DepEd, because the resignation process from DepEd is unpredictable. I mean, they don't have a standard process for it. It could take you too long and that you will lose your job offer. So I can do that because I was at a private institution. So the resignation process was really quick. I would suggest to take your daughter so she can also live the American life, you know, because you can take your kid as long as they're under 21 years old. Once the child is 21 years old, they should go home. Even if your visa is not expired. The child dependent should go home when they're 21 years old. 16 years old, so when she gets there, she'll join high school, right? And then she can also work if she wants. Because 16 years old, they can start working there, not full time. So I suggest that you take her. It will be a good opportunity for her. And if you take her to the US, so you know how high school there? So she's 16 now. If she goes with you, so she will start high school there. She will graduate by 18 years old there in the US, right? And in the US, while you are in high school, you can go to community college and it's for free. While you are earning your associate degree at a community college, it's for free if you are a student at a public school. So it will be a good opportunity for your daughter. So take her with you if you can. So you will lose your pension benefit. So really, I don't know how DepEd thing works. But, you know, with lots of DepEd teachers who went to the US, I'm sure they also thought about that, but they still, you know, left, right? So being a teacher who never worked with DepEd, I really don't know what I'll be losing if I leave and go to the US. Lots of my friends were from DepEd and they were there and they never wanted to come back. Because, you know, after the J1 program, you can go back to the Philippines, right? If you don't have the waiver and then comply with the 2-year home residency requirement. After that, you can come back to the US either on J1 visa again or H1B. So that's just 2 years. It's actually fast. Like me, I'll be, you know, soon I'll complete my first year being here. And on my second year here, next school year, I can start, you know, processing my papers going back to the US, hopefully. Okay, you do that, Karen, okay, or Karine. You're welcome, Joffrey. How about bringing my 8-year-old kid? Is it wise to do it? Okay, Mom Rosemary, are you also taking your husband with you? Okay, because if you're taking your husband with you, there's 2 of you working, right? And in there, your child being school age is actually good because public school there is free 100%. So you don't have to worry about, you know, tuition and other fees. They don't have that as long as you send your kid to a public school there. And it will be, again, a good opportunity for her. So financially, because if you have dependents with you in the States, each one you have to pay for their insurance. But the insurance is about $100 or less. So that's each month, right? So each one should be insured with a J1 visa. So, but that's not a lot. If you're thinking about, you know, the expenses when you take her with you, like the airfare, my son is getting wild again. But, you know, the airfare, what you can do is say, for instance, go there for a year first and then she could follow you. She'll be in high school. 9 years old is the start of high school, right? That's freshman year. 9 years old? No, I'm thinking about grade 9. 9 years old is, I don't know, is that middle school? But it doesn't matter what level because it's still free. And it depends on what state you're assigned. But in Florida, school age kids, they're given an EBT card. That EBT card is a monthly thing. I don't know how much it is. Maybe $250 so that the kid would be able to buy food. So you can use that card to buy groceries at the store and use that to pay for them. And it will be refilled monthly. So yeah, take her. If you can, like financially, it allows you to take your kid. I would always suggest to take the kids with you to the US for experience and also so that you're together, you know. Mom Rosemary, since you're taking your husband with you, after about like 6 months, your husband can start working, okay? And then there's 2 of you working. So you can definitely, having your child there is almost like negligible in terms of spending. Okay, because school is free. That's the most expense that you will have if school was not free, right? But it's free. Thank you, Joffrey. 5th grade, oh, it's still elementary, right? Also, it depends where you're working. Your child could be in your same school too. Because there in the US, they follow zoning. So whatever your address is, there's going to be a school where you should go to. If your husband is not going to be choosy, there's a lot of work there. Honestly, it's not a big problem finding jobs there. That's why I don't understand where others don't have jobs there. He can work at some shops or stores. You know, most Filipinos there are working, say in Florida. My husband tried working also to like deliver pizza. He worked at a hotel, like a resort, maintenance work. He also worked as an apprentice electrician. And, you know, if compared to working in the Philippines, they will still earn more. So I would suggest really to find a housemate because rent is the biggest expense. So when you're there and if you have a housemate, that's a lot of savings. So when you get there, your J2 should apply for the employment authorization document. It will take around 3 months to process that. And they will send you the EAD card. And once they have that, they can apply anywhere. If your husband is up to working 2 jobs, he can do that too. So really, there's no limit to what job your husband can work as long as they're qualified. So for instance, in one of the work my husband did, he was paid like $12 an hour. And there are many benefits as well. If you work at a restaurant, it will be lower, but you get tips. No visa sponsor will take care of accommodation. Okay, so far there's none. So all accommodations, you have to take care of it. But like for EPI, for instance, they have lots of Filipino and other foreign nationals already in those 4 states. And these teachers, they volunteer as liaison officers. So they're the ones that are assisting new teachers to look for housing, to look for car. So yeah, but they don't. They will just give you some suggestions where you can find apartments or any accommodation. So yeah. Mom says I also have already a vlog over on my YouTube channel about looking for housing in the US. Okay, H1B, for one, this is the best, you know, like advantage is that it can be converted to green card. Both H1B and J1 visa are for 3 years. Right? J1 visa can be extended to 2 more years. So for J1 visa, 5 years max, and then you go home. There's no way for that to be converted to another working visa, like H1B, without the waiver, which is so difficult to obtain now. That's why I went back home. H1B, so after 3 years, it can be extended to 3 more years if your employer wants to still continue hiring you. Right? Therefore, for H1B, you can work there for 6 years maximum. And at the end of your 6 years, if you're on your 6th year, you can start applying for green card. So hopefully your employer will continue to sponsor you because you still need a sponsor for your green card application. Okay, so that's the main advantage. Now, H1B is more difficult to obtain. And they also it has more requirements too. Will require for you to already have the teaching license from the state. J1 does not need you to have the teaching license before going to the US, but H1B does require that. So you have to work on getting the teaching license first. Yeah, and it will require medical exam. I hope, Chatty, I gave you some. Yeah, in that case, H1B is better. That's why for those who have been to the US already and who are planning to go back to the US, that's the target. Get H1B so they don't have to go back home. And hopefully they can get, you know, their green card and stay there forever, until eternity. But like I said, it has more requirements. H1B is easier to obtain when you are already in the US. But then if you're there on J1 visa on the first place, you have to first have the waiver before you can apply for H1B. Yep, eternity. It's very long. So for those who are interested to try their luck on H1B, I also have a video on my YouTube channel how to look for H1B sponsors and schools who offer H1B. Okay, I already signed a contract and then. So if you signed a contract with the agency, I don't know how easily you can retract that because you're breaking the contract. So you have to know that first. What is the consequence if you break the contract, right? Are they going to ask you for, but you know, if they're going to ask you for a penalty fee for breaking the contract, that fee for sure is still less than the placement fee that you have to pay them, supposed to continue with your application. So yeah, you can ask them what will be the, you know, you can inform your agency, hey, I don't think I can continue, so what should I do next? Something like that. See, that's why I'm really encouraging teachers to do direct hire, because agencies, I don't know. Of course, they will say it will be faster if you hire an agency, but really, you can do things on your own. Mom says, yeah, while your visa is valid, so remember again, visa is for 3 years. Within the 3 years, you can go back and forth, Philippines to US, or anywhere else in the world, you can still come back with no problem. So that is why after your 3 years there, obviously your visa is already expired. You cannot go out of the US anymore, because you won't be able to go back in unless you apply again for the renewal of your visa. What if you don't get renewed, right? You won't be able to go back to the US. But while your visa is valid, you can go out of the state to go somewhere else and come back without a problem. So that's why I would suggest ask the agency, since, or if you want, you can wait for the result of that interview before, you know, breaking it off with your agency, just to be sure. But you know, I'm thinking they will ask for like a penalty fee for breaking the contract. But I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure it'll be less than the placement fee. So you still go for the GEC if that's a favorable result for you. Good luck. It's raining. I don't know if you can hear, but it's raining now. It's been raining for a week straight here. I haven't been out. The process really depends. They don't have the same process. One of these two. Okay, let me just open it. Since you know, the question comes up. That's the second time it came out. So maybe I should just. So let me open the file so that I can give you a better answer to your question, because they have different process. One is much simpler than the other. So I know between these two, there's one that's, you know, you will send your credential to EPI, and then EPI will send your credential to them. So kind of like they will take care of it. Oh, for Spantran, so EPI is the one that's going to submit your application and documentation on your behalf. So you will send your transcript to EPI, and then EPI will send it to them, and Spantran will send the result to EPI and to you. But for WES, I hope it's not too loud. Can you hear the rain? Okay, anyway, so for WES, you will be the one to send your documentation, your application. You'll pay for the evaluation, and then EPI will receive the completed report. Okay, so either way, you'll be the one to pay for the FCE fee. But if your application is successful, EPI will reimburse it. So when you're already in the US. You know, at least now everything is online. During my time, I had to send my TOR over, you know, using, I think I used FedEx. So it's taking longer time. And you know how it goes here in the Philippines, sending snail mail like that. So if you're applying with EPI, Chatty, because I couldn't follow anymore the thread, maybe you already mentioned it, they will tell you right away if you will have to send your PhD or not. But you know, I would suggest to still send it, because what if you're assigned on a state that credit your PhD even if you have not graduated? Anyway, the fee is the same. I asked my friends, do you pay separately for your bachelor's degree, for master's and PhD? They said it's just one fee. I don't know if that is true, but that's what they told me. So I would suggest that just send in your PhD as well. Okay, we got 6 minutes. It's almost 3. Thank you, Ma'am Rosemary. So there's your answer. So since it's just one payment, I would suggest to send all of your TORs, because you can use that. Suppose you want to also apply other ways, you can still use the result of that FCE. I know it has like an expiration, but it's not going to expire within a year, I think. Ma'am Rosemary, if you don't mind, how much does Spantran ask for FCE fee? Okay, $195. All right. Because I heard in others, I think it's $200 or more. So I know they started with, the 2 years ago, they started reimbursing the FCE fees to successful applicants. But during our time, they don't reimburse it. Because EPI is getting bigger and bigger. They have more funds now. They're even giving tablets or laptop for free. During our time now, there's nothing like that. They issued a cell phone so we can set up our number in the US, but we have to pay for it. Salary deduction. I think it was $130 a cell phone. Oh, see, okay, that's good. Thank you, Mom Rosemary, for sharing the information to us. No, Chatty. Locally, they have 401k in the US, but we're not qualified for that as J1 visa teachers. Yeah, that's the plan, Mom says. So right now, I'm just completing my 2 years home residency requirement. The plan is to go back, especially since my son is an American. It would be better for him to be in the US. So hopefully there won't be any problem going back. Okay, 2 minutes. I really appreciate you joining me in my live today. And thank you for asking your questions, because I am also getting new information based on your questions, and I appreciate the others sharing their experience as regards application process. I will try that H1B, but after completing your 2 years, you can come back either J1 again or H1B. So I'll try H1B, obviously, because I don't want to be going back and forth every after 5 years. I'm not getting any younger. So if that's something that's easy for me to obtain, I'll do that. And but I'm open to going back on J1 as well. It's fine with me, because on H1B, by the way, I haven't mentioned it. It's an important information that you know this. On H1B, your dependent cannot work. So if you go to the US on H1B visa, you will be the only one working for 6 years. Your partner, your spouse can only start working once your green card process has started. So you have to consider that too when you're making the decision. Will you be okay? Will your family be okay with just one person earning? So if you go there on J1 visa though, the J2 visa holder can work. So there's 2 of you working. If your child is also on a working age, like starting 16 years old, they can do part-time. They can also start working. The dependents of H1B visa holders, they cannot. Yeah, it's so early. Remember, I got my job offer July. Yeah. So when you go back to the US after completing your 2-year home residency requirement, you are considered a new applicant altogether. So you still have to be following the eligibility requirements. So that's why. So this year, I think I mentioned that if you're following me on Facebook or YouTube, this year I'm not working. So I'm jobless basically. But since I have a plan of going back to the US, I should start working again this coming school year, right? Otherwise, I won't be eligible. You have to be currently teaching full-time in the classroom, not on like online virtual classes, ESL for instance, if you're teaching English, not on tutoring or review centers. No, has to be classroom again, full-time, not a substitute. I'll be doing another FB live next Saturday after this, next Saturday, if that makes sense. So I do it every other Saturday, same time, 2 p.m. Okay, I think this is it for us today, unless there's more questions coming in. If there's none, again, thank you very much for joining me on my Facebook Live today. I hope I have been a help to you. And if you still have some questions that you forgot to ask or you're shy to ask here on FB Live, you can just send me a private message. Actual teaching, so there are 7 periods there. So again, I think actual teaching will be like 7.5 hours. Is it 7? But let me just describe it this way. So there are 7 periods every day. The teachers will only teach for 6 periods, so you always have 1 planning period. If you want to teach the whole time there, no planning period, the principals would ask you, hey, who among you would like to hold an extra 1 period? So meaning you're losing your free time, right? Your vacant period. It's okay too, but you don't have any rest. So out of the 7 periods in a day, and each period is 15 minutes, right? So, and then you have 1 vacant period for planning. So, but like I said, actually the length of each period and how many subjects in a day depends on the district. Even within Florida, districts do not have the same time schedule in their schools. So when I was there, I taught maximum of 2 different subjects. So I was teaching, at some point I was teaching physics and math, right? So, but during my last 2 years in Florida, I was teaching just 1 physics class. So it's just physics, but 2 different kinds of physics, because that's IB Physics 1 and IB Physics 2. So there won't be any, clerical works, it's mostly things that you do as a teacher, grades, but extra work, that's one of the things that you would appreciate there. You can focus on your teaching assignment because you won't be given extra things to do. Anything that is extra, they will ask you to sign up for it, meaning it's for, voluntary thing. But even if it's voluntary, actually you will be paid to do that. For instance, being a club moderator, a sponsor, if your club has lots of members, then you will get paid for it. If you are a coach of basketball or whatever sports, or a dance group, then you will also be paid for that. If they will ask you to help with bus duty, that's also an extra payment. So basically anything that you do outside of your regular working hours, you will be paid to do that. And it's again for voluntary basis. If you don't want extra money, because signing up means you have extra income, right? You don't have to sign up if you don't want to, but that's one of the ways in order to get extra income while on J1 visa, because you're not allowed to have other employers besides the district. If you have an account, online account, I know you can do fund transfer, but there are so many ways to transfer funds from US to the Philippines, and it will be here in seconds, like World Remit, Zoom, Remitly. Yeah. There's so many ways to send. Filipinos are really such sweet workers. They're already thinking about sending money to the Philippines. Oh, thank you, Chatty, for wishing me success. I'm looking if... Okay, for working with the locals, they are, objective ones. They're not really into small talks. So time is really precious to them. That is why any work outside of the school hour, they have to be paid. Otherwise, no one will sign up, because they know how precious time is. Because there in the US, work is paid by the hour, per hour. That's why, during meetings there, you cannot go beyond. If you say like the meeting is at 2:20, 2:40 only, and the meeting at 2:40. If you're still talking in front and it's already 2:40, people will be standing and leaving the bench. And you cannot tell them, sit down, I'm not done. Because, you have to respect the contracted hours of teachers. And it's true for all types of work there. Since workers there are paid by the hour, each hour is important. And some teachers have second jobs too. Again, they can do it because they're locals. If you're on J1 visa, you cannot have another employer besides the district. It's okay to accept jobs in other schools because that school is also under the same district. It's fine. I did that. I was teaching middle school during it's a science camp every Saturday. So it's not my school, but since the school is within the district, it's fine. I'm not violating my visa doing that. So they're very helpful, so you don't worry about that. You don't worry about politics. Don't be that obnoxious, toxic foreign teachers who's always complaining, always asking for help but not really giving anything. And although they are very big on collaboration, they want you to collaborate. They would share information with you, share resources with you. They're not like insecure ones, like if you know something, you keep it to yourself. I think that works here in the Philippines, but there, and they would share it to you. Hey, I found this on the internet. If you want to use this, you can use this too. So don't worry about working with, you don't have to, share personal information about yourself. I personally was not friends even on Facebook with my, colleagues, not after I left the school. The American curriculum compared to the Philippines in terms of contents, because I worked at a training center before going to the US, not really in depth ed, but it works differently there in a way that how it is in the Philippines, right? You can go to second year high school if you're not done with your first year classes and all its requirements there. You will have students who are actually in grade 9, 11, 12 together in one class, because they can do that as long as they're attending classes that are in their planning, graduation requirement. That's why they're also, while in high school, like I mentioned earlier, students there, they can study already at the community college while attending high school. That is why by the time they graduate college, they're still very young, because most of the credits they already earned while they were in high school. Okay, so there the discipline issue is handled not by the guidance, but by the discipline office. That's where the deans are. So unlike in the Philippines, you know how the deans here are for academic purposes, you know, for academic advising. In the US, the deans are the ones that are over the discipline of the students. So each dean is over like, so you take care of the ninth graders, or I think it's alphabetical too. Like this dean is over students with last name from A through D, something like that. So if there are students misbehaving inside your classroom, you can call the dean. But you know, if it's any misbehavior that you can address on your own, address it first. Okay? So I don't know, Chadi, if you're also subscribed to my YouTube channel, but I already have a video there about classroom management. So you can go ahead and watch that after this if you're interested to know. Eventually, I'll be making a vlog also. Okay, so that's my son right there. Sammy, say hi. Okay, I'm sorry. So I will be making a vlog where I would address specific behavior issues in the classroom and what you can do about that. So in terms of how it's done in the US, based on my experience, okay? But I already have a vlog about classroom management. And a week before that, I also have a video about how you can survive your first year in the US so that you will not quit, okay? So those are videos already in my channel. Thank you, Chadi. Okay, so I also taught science there. So I'm a physics major. I also taught math there. Yeah, that's, you know, actually we kind of have the same profile, Chadi, because I also taught research when I was teaching high school at St. Paul's College. I used to teach there. I was teaching research too, in addition to the physics class. But because I also have lots of math, you know, credits during my college years in PNU, I can also teach math. So that's why I was given math loads in the US. Yeah. Chadi, they do have pre-calculus, they have calculus. Look at my hair now, Sammy. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, anyway, hi John. Yeah, senior high. So so for sure you are applying as a high school teacher there, right? So high school students are really tall. You know, I'm 4'11", no, 4'10" to be honest. Why did I add one more? So, and then they're like, some of them like 6'2", 6'3", and I'm the shortest. When everyone's standing, you can't see me anymore. Okay, senior high school in the US, they're like, 18 years old? 17, 18 years old. They're already working, most of them so ready to leave school. All right, so if you have any more questions you're not able to ask here, it's already 3:14. Yeah, actually, yes. So, but if you apply there as a biology teacher, you're, you know, I would say you're bankable because biology there is a state tested subject. So compared to physics is an elective there only. So, but biology there is a required subject that every American student has to take. So you could also expect that your classes are full compared to my physics classes. Sometimes I only have like 11 students. You know, but yeah, so I'll give you an idea. For instance, when you go with EPI, I don't know if it's true with other, you know, visa sponsors or anything, but you know, with EPI, our teaching license is actually called pre-K through 12, so we can teach from pre-K through 12th grade. I had a batchmate. He's also a physics major, but he was asked to teach in middle school science, because you know that's our teaching license there. It's from pre-K through 12. It doesn't even specify what major. If you come to the US on J1 visa, that's the certificate you will have. Okay, and then you don't have to apply for a teaching certification. It will be processed by the visa sponsor working with the district. Oh, 1 year teaching biology. So that's the thing. To qualify, you should have at least 2 years teaching experience relevant to what you're applying for. My son is 3 years old. Oh, he's turning 4 soon because his birthday is in February. So definitely, if you want to know about how to survive your first year in the US, watch my vlog there. I gave some, I know they're useful tips because they're the ones that helped me survive my first year, and it worked for me. And so yes, that's right. You're good to go. Because you know that the important thing about being specific with your major or the subject you'll be teaching is for your visa. You know, because your visa should show the specific grade level and subject you're teaching in the US. Like for me, in my DS 2019, which is a requirement for your visa, it says there physics teacher, but when I went there, I'm teaching more maths than physics. So until such time, they just moved me to the math department because I only had like 2 physics classes and the rest are math. Alright, any more questions? I hope I did not skip anyone's question. If I did, maybe you can still PM me. Send me a private message and I'll endeavor to answer your question. Okay, so again, thank you very much for joining me on my Facebook Live today. I'll see you on my next Facebook Live 2 weeks from now. Same time. Bye guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll upload this. I will edit this and upload this on my YouTube again in case you want to watch. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the week and